Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Paich, and welcome to this edition of Nonprofit Spotlight. Nonprofit Spotlight is a production of the Volunteer Advisory Committee here at Community Television. And every edition we highlight people who are doing wonderful work in our community. And this edition, we're really happy to have people with us talking about Women's History Month and her story, and the Museum of Art and History, and our Santa Cruz Office of Education, all people who are doing great work around this event to support us. We've got with us Nick Ibarra. Nick, welcome. Stephanie.
Hey, Steve. Great to be with you.
Yeah, great. Thank you again. Stephanie Sumarna. Stephanie, welcome. And Jessie Durant. Jessie, welcome for you. Nick, why don't you kick us off here a little bit and give us an idea of what we really are looking at to celebrate here?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I will just briefly say and then pass it off to Stephanie and Jessie, who really are the two creators and thought leaders behind this event. But what we're talking about is the third annual Her Story celebration, which is really a moment to recognize the women who are impacting Santa Cruz County's history, as well as continuing to make an impact today, as well as the young women who are already out there leading in our community at our high schools and universities, and early professionals who we know are going to make an impact in the future. And it's happening on March 6th at the MA from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And we would absolutely love it if your viewers would join us at the celebration. But I think there is a story behind it, and I will pass it off to Jessie and Stephanie to tell you the full story of how this event got started.
Great. Well, Stephanie, welcome. Stephanie, just tell us, for the viewers who don't know about you and your work, tell us a little bit about yourself before we start, and how you got involved with this particular event.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. My name is Stephanie, and I work at the Santa Cruz County Office of Education. And I work as a technology teacher on special assignment, which means I'm typically working in designing professional learning and training for teachers and students around technology.
Oh, my.
And that might seem not adjacent to what we're talking about today, which is the Her Story celebration. But as a female in technology, I noticed that there was an opportunity to sort of provide more entry points for other girls in technology. And that got me thinking, what are we doing in our community to celebrate and honor the contributions of our female community members? And I listened to a podcast where they talked about the origins of the game Monopoly. And it was actually a woman who designed the first copy of the Monopoly game. And I don't know what the connection was, but I thought we should celebrate and we should do something for Women's History Month. And I am lucky enough to know Jessie in my personal life. And so we collaborated and thought, how can we really bring our two organizations together to do something to celebrate and honor women?
That's wonderful. Jessie, I did have an opportunity to look at the Museum of Art and History website and look at your biography, and very impressive, and we're very delighted to have you here. I will say as an aside that the Museum of Art and History is one of my favorite collaborating organizations. We were fortunate enough to do a Christmas dinner there for the homeless folks many years ago, and we did it for about 5 years until before COVID. We found them to be a wonderful community partner, so I just want to a shout out to the Museum of Art History. But Jessie, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with this.
Yeah, thank you. That's so great to hear. And we love having collaborating with people all throughout the community and Santa Cruz County. So that's so nice to hear. I came to the MA after COVID. So I've been here about 4 years now, and I'm the archives specialist. Mm-hmm. So that means I take care of all of our historical documents and photographs in the collection. So I'm really focused on the history of Santa Cruz County. So celebrating Women's History Month was something that was, I thought it would be important to have an event at the MA that celebrated that and really brought out kind of the history side of our Museum of Art and History. that we saw that the game Her Story existed, and so Stephanie and I kind of took that and ran with it. And that first year, we had some of the games available to play and had speakers, and just since then the event has really grown, and we've got such wonderful feedback, and just is really fulfilling to be a part of the event.
So I'm not familiar with the games. Now tell us a little bit about that. That sounds fascinating.
Well, I think that's where when Stephanie saw the Monopoly connection, and it's a game where it has women from all throughout history, and you kind of get to know them. I think this sounds funny, but you collect the cards, and then you learn the stories of women throughout history and the contributions they've made. So we kind of were focusing a little bit on our Santa Cruz County, who are the women to know, and let's share those stories.
Now, has this been an event that's been celebrated in Santa Cruz County for a long period of time? Is relatively new? Certainly honoring women is something that we've been doing and should be doing for an awfully long period of time. But specifically this event and this celebration, how long has it been going on?
Yeah, you're right, Steve, to acknowledge that celebrating women isn't something that's new. But but this particular event, will be our third annual. So,
okay.
And as Jessie mentioned, it's been really exciting to watch it from that first year and grow a little bit each year. This year are really excited that we will be hosted on First Friday. So that's a big new change this year. Previously, it's been on Thursdays. So we are super excited to be hosting on First Friday this year.
Well, that's a great and auspicious day to have it on that. That's wonderful. I will say also to the side that I sit on the board of the United Nations Association, and we every year have a Women's International Day celebration. So we have in our way trying to honor women as much as we can. Of course, the United Nations has been doing it for a long period of time. So what will the exhibit and the activities look like kind of when we're celebrating Her Story? And anybody can answer.
That's such a great question. Our program will look pretty similar to how it looked last year. Guests are welcome to join us from 5:30 to 7:30. And during that time, there will be different local women-focused organizations that are tabling in the Museum of Art and History. Everything from the Walnut Avenue Women's Center to American Association of University Women. We have 2 high school female empowerment groups that are going to be there this year. So people are invited to come into the MA, sort of get to know organizations that they might already know or learn about a few more. And then we have speakers. So there will be 3 speakers. One from each of our sort of honoree categories. So we have a category for rising women, people under 25 who are making an impact on our community. Then we have a category for impact, women who are currently working and doing things who are over 25. And then we also have a legacy category, women who have been sort of at this work contributing to our community for an extended period of time. And I don't want to give anything away, so I'm wondering, Nick, do you want to share? We have a really exciting MC this year that's also new.
Oh, yes. So
fantastic.
we are very excited and can share with you, I think for the first time publicly, Steve, happy to share in your program that Assemblywoman Gail Pellerin will be our MC this year. And I am sure she needs no introduction to you or your viewers. She has been an incredible champion for women across our community, for all community members who live here on the Central Coast. And, as you likely know, she's among her many active roles as our former beloved county clerk. She also has been active in Emily's List, in Breaking the Glass Ballot, and in the local organization Wilder, the Women in Leadership for Diverse Representation. So we are just honored and thrilled that Assemblywoman Pellerin will be there to MC this special celebration.
Wonderful and very appropriate. Gail Pellerin, a very favorite person of mine. Interestingly, she and her daughter, when we were hosting the Thanksgiving dinners at the Veterans Memorial Building, she was there every year just serving food and being part of the community, and all the things she does on a macro scale as an assembly member, and the things she's done in the community for a long period of time. She is just that grounded in the community. So absolutely a wonderful person to have. I was going to mention that when Stephanie was talking, that one of your past honorees was Bettina Aptheker, which I noticed looking at the material for this. So it's a pretty august list of folks who have really, championed women's rights and the place for women in the county of Santa Cruz.
Yeah, that's right. One of my favorite parts about this event, Jessie mentioned that getting to be on the planning team is really personally rewarding. So each year there is an array of women who are honored, many of which you might have already heard their name before, but at least a handful that you probably haven't heard their name before. But each of those women come with a story for things that they're doing in our community, just like you shared things that you know about Gail and the way that she's impacted our community. Yeah. Every year we host this event. That's just one of the things that I love, is that we get to know more about the women who are doing things in Santa Cruz County, and that they get to feel honored and recognized for that work.
Yeah.
And if I might, Steve, I wanted to point out something that is also new this year, which is there since the last celebration, the Museum of Art and History installed a special Her Story pod in the permanent history gallery on the second floor that I'm sure you visited. But that's something new. Some of us may have already seen it, but for those who haven't, this is really the perfect opportunity. And I don't know, Jessie, if there's anything else you might want to share about the pod. It's just an incredible addition to that space.
Oh, please do, Jessie.
Yeah, the pod, was really, last year, Yvette Brooks was one of our speakers as well, and we're so moved by the event and wanted to make it something that was not just once a year. So really spearheaded acquiring funding so that we could put the pod together and have it in the History Gallery all year round for people to come and visit. And it recognizes the women who have been part of past Her Story events, but also just women throughout time who have made an impact on Santa Cruz. And I just wanted to, so that will be available at the event. People will be able to come and check that out too. And I just wanted to also, the thing about the women who are getting recognized is that they're being nominated by anybody in the community. Anybody in the community, our nominations were open, and they could submit a names and a story as to why they think this person should be recognized. So that's kind of why we get some of those well-known names and maybe ones that aren't so well-known. And I think that that's a really special way to involve the community. And then our selection committee, which is made up of representatives from organizations throughout the community, narrowed it down for this year's nominees. So it's really a group effort and community led.
I think it's a wonderful opportunity, really, to recognize women, particularly, who have done so much for our community, but may not be well known in the community. May have, been under the radar in a lot of ways, doing great work, and not being recognized necessarily by the community, but should get a nod for the work that they do, and maybe some support moving forward for the efforts that they are making on behalf of the community. And I think the awareness of that really will motivate the community to become even more involved, not only in women's rights and honoring women, but in the things that they are doing to engage in the community.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of our speakers and honorees are doing work currently. And so it's really nice to be able to give them a space for that to get recognition. Unfortunately, another one of our planning team members is not able to be here right now. But Jamie from Lookout Santa Cruz is also on the planning committee. And Lookout Santa Cruz is just an incredible partner in terms of being able to share the stories of those women and make sure that other people get to read and hear about them.
Well, that's great to know. Lookout Santa Cruz has certainly taken their place in the landscape of our community over the last few years. So a recognition well deserved for all the great work they do. Tell me how did the MA and the Office of Education kind of partner up on this? It seems like you're collaborating on this wonderful event and honoring women, but how did that happen?
That's such a good question. I think this event really centers around people. And like I had mentioned, Jessie and I are lucky enough to know each other personally. And so it really made sense that this is something, if we're honoring women that are rising, then the education space really makes sense because that taps into our students and our youth who are in our county. And then in terms of the museum and art and history, Jessie, collects and manages the archive. So she really can tap into like, who are the women from our past that have contributed? And Lookout Santa Cruz does an amazing job with covering stories of local women all year round. And so they had really great connections around who are women that we should know about that are working in our community currently.
So now, when will this event officially kick off? When there is the pod set up so people can, when they watch this program, and hopefully it'll be shortly and often, they'll be able to go over now and to the MA and be able to take that in. But when does this actually get set up and you get ready to do the celebration itself?
Sure. So, the event itself is on March 6th, 2026, as Stephanie mentioned, I think a little bit earlier, coinciding with First Friday in downtown Santa Cruz. So it's a great day to bring the whole family, check out downtown. It's at 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the MA, right downtown. And we are encouraging folks to pre-register so we have a better idea of who's interested. So you can do that at sccoe.link/herstory. That's sccoe.link/herstory. And we would absolutely love to see our community turn out and support this celebration.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
And
Sorry,
in the meantime, like Jessie mentioned, if you listen to this and you're like, what? I want to know more about the women who have been recognized.
Right.
You can go right away to the MA and go up to the second floor to the Her Story pod. One of my favorite parts about that exhibit, I brought my daughter to the opening and there's a book that has the pictures and a description of all the women who have been recognized at past events. And so you can do a little reading, get caught up on the women in case you haven't attended the previous two events, and be ready for that March 6th, third annual.
Oh, that's terrific. And I know that Santa Cruz, and particularly Santa Cruz City, where the MA is situated, lucky for all of us who live here, has a long history really of honoring women, and even politically and electorally, we had a time when most of our city council members were women. And I think it's a wonderful reflection of our community and how they appreciate the efforts, that women have made over time in Santa Cruz. And I think this is an opportunity really to maybe focus that, crystallize, that appreciation and that awareness of that through this exhibit. So it's a wonderful event, and we're really happy to have you all here. Jessie, tell us a little bit more about the work you do as an archivist at the MA, as long as we have you here, and because I know that there are so many great exhibits over there that I've had an opportunity to enjoy and take in, and so many people do, the MA being a really signature location in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, definitely. The archives, our mission is to collect, preserve, and provide access to the stories of Santa Cruz County, so the whole county. And we really want to represent everybody who is part of the county within our collections. So we actively try to preserve those stories, well-known stories and not so well-known stories that kind of make up the fabric of our community. We'll go. Our collections go back, to the 1800s, to late 1800s, mid to late 1800s, when the city began. And so my job is to make sure that those stories are preserved. So we have our storage area up to archival standards to keep items in perpetuity. And then we have available research appointments for people to come and look at items, and we're slowly digitizing things so that they will be more accessible online and people can get them from the comfort of their homes using the internet. So
So Nick was kind enough to give us the 411 on when this is taking place and when the date is and the first Friday and that. And this is Women's History Month for the entire month of March. Will there be some permanent exhibits other than the pod that are associated with Women's History Month at the MA?
There's nothing else besides the pod, but we will be having on the Thursday before, we'll have a free self-defense class. We did that last year also. So kind of as part of activities around Women's History Month. And we know that there are other organizations in the community who are celebrating it in ways. So we're trying to, as we hear about them, gather that information to let other people know that all throughout the month and all throughout the year, they can celebrate women's history.
And I'll just add, Steve, that that the other thing that is permanent year round is what Jessie mentioned, which is everything in the MA archives. And one thing that I think of is, the first teacher in Santa Cruz County history, the first English speaking teacher, I should say, because of course there were indigenous teachers for thousands of years before that. But we have on record as the first English speaking teacher, Mary Amney Case, who immigrated here in the early 1800s with her family from Iowa and founded the first small schoolhouse in Santa Cruz County. And in fact, some of your viewers may have seen there was kind of a fun history mystery this fall where we recovered a headstone related to Mary Amney Case, which fortunately at the end of the day turned out to have been an extra. There was no desecration. We're very happy to say that took place there. But it was a fun story, and it's just amazing to discover all those stories. And the MA has them in their history journals as well, which they have available. And there are so many untold and undertold stories of women in particular throughout the history of this county that people can learn about.
And I think one of the goals of the event is to get people to share those stories with each other, so they become part of that history and the oral tradition of our community.
Yeah, I think that is something that's lost oftentimes. It's kind of that living history, the oral histories that are passed down from generation to generation, honoring those who have, in the history of Santa Cruz, been the people who have raised up others, as so many women have done here. Let me ask you, Stephanie, a little bit more about your role in all this. And I know that you are with the Office of Education, and as is Nick, and it's a wonderful collaboration between the Office of Education that does great work year-round itself and the MA. But tell us a little bit about your involvement with things, educational in our community.
Yeah, thanks for asking. My role in supporting things educational in our community, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, is supporting technology initiatives. So that includes a lot lately has been focused around artificial intelligence and what sort of how can we use this tool to support students and teachers. So I collect resources, materials, curate those. Just like Jessie curates the archives, I curate resources for teachers and provide training and also newsletters to support them. And also go into classrooms. I'm lucky enough to sometimes be able to go into classrooms and provide guest lessons as well.
Interesting. Do you find that, oftentimes technology and the advances of technology is so much associated with the nerdy male kind of, approach to it? You find that young women, are warming to technology and the advances in that?
Yeah, it's interesting that you should bring that up. There have been times where I've felt like, oh, do I belong in this space? I look different, sound a little different from a lot of what you consider in the traditional technology sense. But I've learned that actually just by being an example and by stepping in and leaning into my identity, that I've been able to make other people feel comfortable doing the same. So yes, I think that it's a lot of going back to her story, the ability to just hear and listen to different stories of different women doing different things helps to sort of expand this idea of what it looks like to be female and contributing in Santa Cruz County, and helps, helps people to just see that it comes in all different shapes and sizes. And so, yeah, it's fun, cool, exciting to be a female in the technology and technology education space.
Nick, I see you nodding your head there. You have something.
Well,
to
you know,
add?
I was you picked up on it, Steve, but I was just smiling because I was thinking of, speaking of the women impacting Santa Cruz County today. You know, Stephanie was recently awarded by Santa Cruz Works as one of our titans of technology in 2026, which, along with another incredible female leader in our education community, Julie Edwards from PVUSD. And so, you know, the work that she's talking about is making an impact, reaching educators, reaching students, and fortunately, happy to say, getting recognized for those impacts today. So it all does come full circle, as it usually tends to.
Well, and it's just this panel alone really illustrates the fact that Santa Cruz has many women leaders in communities activities that really define our community values. And I think that that's so important, you know, when we look at what Santa Cruz is today and what it will become in the future, is to include those role models but particularly for young women and men, but how they can contribute, you know, to the community. We have just a couple of minutes left. Any parting thoughts? You've really given us and our viewers a lot of very useful information about her story and about how to access that and how to participate in it, and we urge everyone to do that. But any final thoughts about the event and Women's History Month? And Nick, you can lead us off.
Sure. Well, you know, I think we covered it all, and really appreciate you sharing about this celebration with your viewers. I was just going to, if you'd allow me to make a tangentially related plug, which is we're capping off Women's History Month with our STEAM Expo. The timing, I will say, is just a coincidence, but I think it is a space where this is another amazing community celebration. It's March 28th at the Santa Cruz County Fairgrounds, and it combines the traditional science fair, the K-12 science fair, with the very new Innovation Expo, where families of all ages are invited to come innovate, experiment, and explore, get hands-on with science and technology. So we really hope they're kind of at both ends of March, and you know, we'd love to see families and your viewers of all ages at both celebrations.
Wonderful. I'm sure they will. That'll bracket the month very well for us. Stephanie, any final thoughts about her story and what we can expect during the month of March?
Well, you know, just to piggyback on what Nick said and to share and recap, you know, her story is really about honoring the women who've shaped our county and creating a space for the next generation to see themselves as leaders. If we haven't already said it, the event is free and open to the public. So we hope to see you all there on March 6th.
And Jessie, any final words from our beloved Ma?
I I just hope that this event really helps people to think about and honor the women in our community and in their lives that are making an impact, and to recognize the work that's being done. And we hope to see them all at the MA.
Wonderful. Nick Ibarra, Stephanie Sumarna, and Jessie Durant, thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy and honoring women in March and her story. Go over there, see that, participate, honor the women that have been such a big part of our community, continue to be, and will continue to be in the future. I'm Steve Plaich. This has been another episode of Nonprofit Spotlight. Join us next time, and we will see you then. Take care.